Hey guys, so in this video I want to cover and hopefully end this whole annoying debate between mouse and keyboard and controller players on the topic of aim assist. This of course only became a hot topic again after Tfue and Cloak recently tweeted about aim assist and controller players overall. There have been a ton of people covering news and drama surrounding the topic, or covering one side, as most people have expertise on the peripherals they play on. So controller players usually talk about their hardships on controller, while keyboard and mouse players mainly talk about the perceived benefits and unfairness that come from using aim assist. If you've been a fan of the channel for a long time, you guys will know that I played on both console and PC with both controller and keyboard and mouse. I originally started playing Fortnite in Season 2 on PlayStation 4. I actually started playing on my brother's PS4 until I went back to college after my winter break and I had to buy my own PS4. I then switched to mouse and keyboard on console in July 2018, so a whole 8 months after starting in December 2017. Now it's April 2019, so it's been a little more than 8 months that I've been playing on keyboard and mouse on PC. I'm not sure how many other people have played as long as I have on both systems and different sets of peripherals, but I definitely think I have more than enough experience on both sides to try and be fair and unbiased. So while Tfue and Cloak's recent tweets kind of reignited the whole aim assist is OP debate, let's go back to the beginning when the topic first popped up in the Fortnite community, all the way back from the Summer Skirmish. At the end of the Summer Skirmish last year, Epic held its first major LAN event at PAX West. We saw players like Bizzle and Morgoss win life-changing money, but we also saw the emergence of an insane new controller player that most people in the community had never heard of before, Ghost Aiden. If you guys remember, Aiden and Nick Mercs battled it out in Tilted Towers during the solo event, and Aiden repeatedly killed and danced on Nick. Most Fortnite players only knew of one controller player at the time, which was of course Nick Mercs, and while he was a great player, most of his success was from his positioning, his movement, and game sense. After watching Aiden at PAX West, people started to see that controller players could be just as good or even better than a lot of these established keyboard and mouse players. Aiden was repeatedly out-building, out-editing, out-maneuvering, and just straight up outplaying everyone he found in Tilted Towers. Aiden made a name for himself and helped pave the way for future pros on controllers, but this is also where the aim assist debacle began. With pretty much anything in life, especially competitive gaming, when someone loses, they like to find something to blame. Up until this point, no controller player had ever placed highly in a Fortnite tournament or honestly even competed against keyboard and mouse players, so when Aiden came along, the competitive community just couldn't seem to wrap their heads around how good and how dominant he was. The easiest way to overlook and kind of make themselves feel better about it was to just attribute it all to aim assist. Aiden hits a pump shot, it's obviously aim assist. Aiden hits a guy gliding in with an AR, aim assist. Aiden takes high ground from someone, aim assist. Being serious though, the amount of salty people I saw on Reddit and Twitter saying it was all aim assist was scary. Keyboard and mouse players could do everything and more than controller players could, but what did controller players have access to that keyboard and mouse players don't? Aim assist. What really started it though was when people noticed that Aiden would spam L2. If we go back and look, Aiden was definitely abusing L2 spam. If you don't know what L2 spam means, L2 is the button on a controller that players use to aim down sight, which is also known as ADSing. On keyboard and mouse, anyone with good tracking will hold their right mouse button to ADS, which is basically L2 for mice, then track the target without ever releasing right click, so they're aimed in the entire time. What Aiden would do is he would aim down sight with L2, then take his finger off of it so he would aim out and not be ADSing. Then he would press L2 again and do this repeatedly. What aim assist does is it will pull your crosshair towards a player when your crosshair is near it. It's not an aimbot that automatically locks on, and it doesn't help you if you're not already aiming near someone. This means if you don't line up your shot correctly or well and try to track them after the initial aim assist, you'll miss every shot until you zoom out. By spamming L2 on a target while tracking, Aiden was resetting the initial aim assist you get, so every initial shot he'd take on someone would get that aim assist adjustment. In this clip, you can see every time he aims in and presses L2, his shot gets aim assist. Admittedly, even now, L2 spam is still extremely strong and does technically give controller players an advantage, but the reason we saw this topic go away and why it's a pretty useless debate is because of all the advantages that a keyboard and mouse player has over a controller player. Mouse and keyboard players have full control of their character and their aim with their arm. Controller players, on the other hand, have two sticks they use with their thumbs. Mouse and keyboard players have keybinds for each build, each weapon, basically everything, while controller players have to cycle through weapons, oftentimes waiting to place builds and other stuff. On top of that, controller players can't use Kovacs, they don't have access to scroll wheel edit reset or scroll wheel place tricks that are just busted and pretty overpowered, and they're also limited by their sensitivities. With a mouse, you can flick it as fast as you want and go for crazy flick shots. On controller, no matter how hard or far you move your thumbstick, you can only go as fast as your sensitivity will allow you. Back in September though, maybe November, when people started to realize these things, the aim assist argument died down because you can see how many disadvantages a controller player has. A month or two later though, Winter Royale happened and controller players were placed against keyboard and mouse players again. Clips of pro players getting beamed out of the sky from controller players L2 spamming them started appearing all over Twitter and Reddit. Then the Reddit threads again started appearing and aim assist again became the hottest topic in the community. Figureheads in the pro scene started bashing aim assist and controller players in general. It basically became a little civil war in the Fortnite scene. It all culminated with this tweet and a video of a guy showing that aim assist could be used to lock onto players who were hidden in smoke, and that L2 spam was still extremely strong. An Epic dev commented on it and said that they had a change coming in patch 7.40, so this was back in Season 7, around the beginning of February, and the change would help mitigate how strong L2 spamming was. When the nerf actually came out, it put a cooldown on aim assist being applied when you aimed down or pressed L2, but the cooldown was 5 seconds and it was applied to every gun. 5 seconds is an extremely long time in Fortnite, but the bigger problem was that it was applied to every gun, so even with a shotgun, if you change weapons or go to aim in with another shot of your shotgun, you would get no aim assist at all in a fight. What Epic should have done was only apply to assault rifles or SMGs for 1 to 1.5 seconds at most. Instead, Epic does what it usually did when it doesn't get a fix right, and it just completely reverted it. I'm pretty sure they actually hotfixed it after a couple of hours. Luckily in this situation, this was actually the right move for a couple of reasons. First, like we discussed before, controller players are already at a huge disadvantage to keyboard and mouse players. In the Winter Royale qualifier, only 8 players on controller qualified out of 200. If aim assist was so overpowered, then wouldn't more controller players qualify? I understand and I get that getting double headshotted by a dude on controller is annoying. A lot of it is due to aim assist and L2 spamming. I think the underlying hatred is because keyboard and mouse players like myself, they kind of feel like they have earned good aim. They've practiced for years on mouse, adjusting their sensitivities and using aim trainers. Then when they get killed by someone with a controller, they automatically think, oh, this dude hit me only because he has aim assist. But what they don't realize is that you still have to have really good aim on controller to really use aim assist to its full potential. This brings up the second reason why Epic did the right thing in reverting the aim assist nerf back in February. Aim assist is stronger on higher frame rates. In this clip by Obey Upshaw, on 240 FPS, aim assist snaps onto the target with one click of L2 from a couple feet away. When he changes to 30 FPS, pressing L2 from the same distance barely gets any aim assist and he actually misses completely. This means that aim assist input is different for different FPSs and stronger on a higher FPS. If you're on console, you've probably seen a bunch of pro controller players just abusing L2 spamming, but you can't really do it yourself if you tried. When I played on console, I never used L2 spamming because even when I tried to, it was basically really hard and it never worked, and it was just better to track normally. If Epic were to change or revert aim assist like they did, it affects everyone, including console players. In the Winter Royale qualifier, guess how many console players, not controller, just console players qualified? 1. Every pro controller player is on PC because of the higher FPS, which actually affects how strong your aim assist is, which I just went over. This is why changing aim assist is so hard to implement. It basically affects everyone on every platform differently. So after a couple of weeks of everyone in the community arguing with each other and the utter chaos that the aim assist nerf caused, once again people kind of accepted that aim assist wouldn't get changed. I honestly thought at this point it wouldn't be brought up again. Obviously every week or two you'll get some pros that post a clip of them getting destroyed by a controller player and blaming aim assist, but I thought the debate in general was over. Like, how many times does it have to be brought up for people to understand how much of a disadvantage controller players have? Well, apparently one more time. Last week, during the second week of World Cup qualifiers, which was the first duos qualifier, Tfue tweeted out, PC players should have an option for aim assist, and at the same time, Cloak tweeted out, controller players should be in their own World Cup qualifiers. It's really obvious that they got killed by controller players. I think someone said that Destroy and Slobbings, who are two really good controller players, apparently they were landing Frosty with Tfue and Cloak, so I can only assume they were giving them a tough time off spawn. Tfue's tweet was surprising though, because he had actually always seemed to be on the side of controller players. I remember months ago he tweeted that he respected controller players, and on stream he talked about how bad thumbsticks on controllers were for aiming and just moving around. As much as I love Tfue, that was a dumbass tweet. PC players already have the option for aim assist, just buy a controller. The thing is that top players will never switch from keyboard and mouse to controller because keyboard and mouse is just superior in every way. Nobody who has qualified for the World Cup is on controller yet. We can argue about whether L2 spamming and aim assist abuse is too strong, but that's a completely different subject from aim assist in general. Controller players literally need aim assist to be put on a level playing field with keyboard and mouse players, and even then, only the best controller players can compete at all. Then there's Cloak's argument that they should have their own qualifiers, which isn't as stupid as Tifu's tweet, but it will just never happen. Epic wants one big inclusive tournament. Splitting up the controller and keyboard and mouse player bases would be bad for viewership and for the community in general. There's already so much disdain and just anger between the two sides. The last thing they should do is make it worse and split the community in two. The fact this argument is still a thing and ongoing within the community is a little concerning. If by this point you still think aim assist is overpowered or you agree with Tifu and Cloak, I'm even more concerned. Literally just go and play on a controller and you'll see how hard it is to be a top player. Yes, it's not difficult to be decent, especially if you're on PC with a controller, but this argument and the whole debate is for players at the top level. Put your emotions to the side and look at it from an unbiased point of view. If aim assist was so overpowered, wouldn't you see controller players winning every tournament and top tier pros switching to controller? You would, but guess what? You don't. That's not happening and it won't ever happen. So if you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and to turn on post notifications. Thank you to everyone who's using my code as always, and remember to send me a picture of you using it to my Twitter or Instagram and I'll be sure to shout you out. If I did forget you, please make sure you send me a little reminder. Otherwise, that's it from me and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.